You've probably heard a lot about the Cursor IDE for AI development. Today I'm going to show you the open source version of this for Neovim. It's called AVANTE.NVIM. I'll show you a quick demonstration of how it works, and then I'll show you how to install it and configure it. And lastly, I'll go through a more comprehensive example where I build a Python script. If you're new here, my name's Alex, and on Zaz & Codes, I'm making videos for data professionals and developers. If you're interested in growing your skills in full stack data science, then I've got a ton of premium content over on Patreon that you can check out. I think it's really important to learn from a wide variety of sources. So over there, you can see videos that I've made on DevOps, machine learning, data engineering, data science, all sorts of stuff. If you want to follow along with me, you can find the source code for this tutorial in the video description. You can grab this code, HTTPS URL, go ahead and copy that, go to your terminal, and you can say git clone and just paste that in. And once you have this Zaz & Codes YouTube available on your system, go into source, AVANTE.NVIM demos. So let me start off by showing you an example of how this works. I'm going to open up Vim, and if I look in my sidebar, I have a test folder, and I'm going to create a new file in here. I'm just going to call it test.sh and open that up, and I'm going to get Avante to write me some code. What I want to do is I'm going to write a bash script to print some dates. So I'll say leader AA. You can see my key caster in the bottom left corner. So leader AA opens up Avante, and now I'm going to ask it something. So I'll say write a bash script to tell me the current time in various different formats. And I'm going to press Control S to submit that. And you can see it working and doing that with my model. And by the way, if I hop up to the top here, I'm using ChatGPT 4o Mini, and I'll show you how to configure that in a second. So I'll come down, I'll type A, capital A, to apply all. Now I'll be in my code here, and I'm going to type CA to accept that. And here I've got a script that seems to do that for me. So I'm going to save that. I'll open up a new pane below, and I'm going to go into this test folder. I'll say chmod +x on that new file, and now I can run this. So let's see how it works. So it's giving me most of it's working. It looks like I've got an illegal option down here. So the very last one is not working. I'll get rid of that. Let's try this again. Let's see if I can get it to fix that. So I'm going to highlight this line, and I'm going to type leader AE, and I'm going to say this line does not work on Mac OS. Please fix. And I'll type again, Control S to submit. All right, it seems to have fixed it. I'll save that. I'm going to come down, try it again. And now it's working. So that was a really quick demonstration of the two ways that you can use Avante in your workflow, either using this AA ask dialog to the right or directly inline by highlighting and then typing leader AE in order to edit those code blocks directly. So now let me show you this code on GitHub, and I'll tell you how to install it for Neovim. Here's the project. It has 6,000 stars right now, and it's under active development. There's lots going on here, and it's actively growing in its functionality and feature set. So there's some good installation instructions for lazy. That's what we'll be using. And I'm going to do that in a second. But for now, I want to come down and talk about how this is configured. The default provider is Claude, and it's recommended to use Claude. However, I've configured it to use OpenAI ChatGPT 4o Mini, and I'll show you how to do that. But right out of the box, if you don't configure it that way, you'll be using Claude, and that's fine too. But you'll need an API key from Anthropic. I'll talk about that in a second. First, I want to show you the key mappings, and here's all the default key mappings that you'll be using. But in my editor, I'm getting helpful hints, which you'll see in this video to just help remind me of these things. And I'm going to now talk about the API keys. So you'll need to make sure these are available in your environment. Because I'm using ChatGPT, I've made this one available in my environment. But you might want to have the Anthropic one available if that's what you're using. That's what is configured out of the box. Let me show you what I mean by that. If I'm here, I'm going to open up a new window in Tmux, and I can look at my environment, and I can search for everything with an OpenAPI API key. And here it is. So obviously I've blanked out what my key is, but this is the environment variable that you'll need. If you're using Anthropic, you'll need that one. I don't have that because I'm not using that model. And lastly, there's some key bindings down here. So leader AA is to show the sidebar. I've got my leader set up as spacebar, so you'll see me doing that in this video. And the other command I'm using is leader AE to edit the selected blocks. So now let's go ahead and install this. So I'm going to come up, and I'm going to grab this installation script for lazy NVIM. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this, and I would suggest you do the same because the developers may have updated this by the time you watch this video. Then go on over to your terminal and open up your Neovim configuration. So for me, that's in my config NVIM folder. And inside of there, I've got a setup like this. I have the Lua folder, and I have a bunch of files for all of my plugin configurations and my key maps and my options. If you want to understand how I've configured Neovim, I made a whole video on how to do this from scratch. And I've got generally good reception from this video, so I think it will be effective in helping you replicate my Neovim setup if that's what you're looking for. But I'm going to go to my lazy file here, and this is where I've installed Avante. Now I've already got it installed, but I'm going to uninstall it and we're going to reinstall it together. So I'll just go ahead and comment that out, and I'm going to save this. And now what I need to do is quit out of Vim and come back into Vim, and now I'm going to type lazy. And when I execute this, my package manager comes up and tells me to clean things up because it's noticed it no longer needs that installed. So now that's gone ahead and cleaned it up, so I can exit out of here. I'm going to exit out of Vim again, and now I'll come back into my config, and let's open that file up, this lazy file. Now say I wanted to use Avante, I would type leader AA, but I can't do that anymore. It's not installed right now. So let's install that. I'm going to come down and I'm going to paste in that code that I grabbed from GitHub. I just want to fix the indentation, so I'm going to bring that in. Now I mentioned the default option is to use Anthropic, but I want to use ChatGPT. So let me search for that. We'll come down to what my old setup was like before I just uninstalled it a second ago. I'm going to copy these options. I'm going to come back up and I'm going to replace these with mine. So I'll paste those in, and then I just need to uncomment that. And here's what I'm working with. So the endpoint I'm using is the default one. I don't need to set that, and I'm not setting any of these other ones. All I'm saying is that I want to use this ChatGPT 4.0 mini. The reason is because it's cheap. And it's worked well enough for me so far, although the maintainers of the package recommend using Anthropic. So I'm going to save that, and we're going to write out of here, and now I want to install this. So I'm going to open up Vim Fresh, and boom, it's all being installed automatically by my lazy package manager. Everything's now been installed and up to date, and that's how we install Avante. So let me prove to you that that's working. I'll open this back up, my lazy file, and now if I type leader AA, I'm able to get Avante and ask questions here. So now let me show you another example of how to use Avante. We're going to do this with a data science project. So if I open up my source code here, there's this gym members classification. And if you've cloned the repository, you'll already see the files that we're about to create. And I've got some data that we're going to train a model on in order to make some predictions. I've got two data sets here. There's one data set I got from Kaggle, which is a data set that we're going to use for training our model. So what we're going to get Avante to do is build a model for us that will classify the type of exercise someone did based on various information about them. So it's like based on the age and the gender and their height and their weight and stuff. What is the type of workout that they're doing at the gym? That's what we're trying to answer here. There's another data set which we're going to use for making predictions. So this is just a sample of that data that doesn't have the target variable anymore. So it's like only the features, and we're going to use this to test the model to make some predictions on that. All right, so let's get Avante to build this model for us. I'm going to create a new file called model.py, and I'll open that up. Now I'm going to type leader AA to open up Avante, and I've prepared a prompt already, so I'm just going to paste that in. And now I want to look at this, so I'm going to close my pane over there, and I can just hop around with Avante like it's regular Neovim pane. That also means I can expand it like I would any other Neovim pane. So I'll type space left in order to expand that a little bit. And I have, I've set that up as a custom setup. You can see my .files repo on GitHub if you want to see how I did that one, just to do like space left to change my pane size. That's how I like to do it. So create a random forest model to do classification of my data set. Data gym members exercise tracking. That's the file we were just looking at. And then I have another command, write this as a function that returns the model, and then write another function to save the model to disk. So let's see how well it can do this. Now, if I'm in insert mode and I'm writing my prompt, here's how I would type Control S in order to trigger that for Avante to go create that code for me. So let's go ahead and writing that. Generation is complete. If I go up to the top, it's using this ChatGPT 4.0 mini model. So I'll come back down, and I could go ahead and copy this, like use Neovim. What I want to do is apply all by typing capital A, and that's something Avante allows us to do. So then over here, there's options, which I'm going to try and show you. So I'm going to bring that pane down. Here's the options. So there's CO, which is ours, CT, which is theirs, CC, which is cursor. So there's all these kind of options. I typically use CA, which is apply all of the recommendations. So CA like this, and then that code just comes in. it resolves the git diff. So I'm going to save this and we'll have a look at what it's written for us. So it's loading the data from the path that I asked for. It's doing some work here where it's like, it's kind of assuming actually the last column is the target variable. That's not correct right there. So let's fix that. If I go back to my file here, the target is called workout type. I guess I never told it that. So let me fix that right now. So I'm going to say AE, I'm going to say the target column workout type, I got to spell that right to select it really. All right, so now it's doing that and it's dropping it in the features, so that's great. So it's fixed that for us. Now it's training our model and it's returning it just like I asked. And then I'm saving the model to disk just like I asked. That's great, so I'll say save. The next thing I want to do is have a prediction method. So I'm going to come back down here and I'll say write a function to make a prediction for my data set, and I have a different data set that I want to use for prediction. So it's over here in data, and if I come back over here and open my sidebar, so it's over here, it's called gym member features to predict. Yeah, let me copy that over to my clipboard, and I'm going to paste that in down here. Alrighty, let's see, there it is. So I'm gonna get that gone. So that's the data I want to predict on. And I'm gonna say you'll need to write a function to load the model, right? Model first. Let's do that, and I'll fire that off. Going up to that, and I'll type A in order to apply that. Let's try to stick it at the top of my file, which is pretty undesirable, but either way, I'll just say CA to accept that, and I'm going to clean it up myself. I'll come on down to the bottom and paste that in like this. All right, let's have a look at what this looks like. I'm going to get rid of there. So now I'm loading my model, it's doing that, and it's using the same model name, which is cool. And then I'm gonna make predictions. Here's the file that I wanna make predictions for. I'm gonna load the model in here, and then I'm gonna make predictions and return them. All right, that's pretty cool. So one thing I might wanna do is add some type hints. For example, this here is taking in a model, but I don't know what that model object is. So let's see if I can do that for me. So I'm gonna say add type hints to the function definitions. So it's working on that. It's generating various predictions for things that it wants to do. So this is where the apply this versus apply all comes in. So if I come up here, if I was to just click lowercase a, it would just apply this single one. So if I do that, see how it just applies that single recommendation. What I want to do is apply all of them. So I'll type the capital A and it'll go ahead and do all of that. And so now I could go through these individually and I could be like, okay, I want theirs here, see theirs. Okay, great. It takes me to the next one, CT, it will accept theirs. Okay, maybe this one I don't like, so I type like CO, and that it doesn't take theirs, it takes mine. So that's the idea with the commands to like accept theirs versus ours. But anyway, I don't want to do any of that. I just want to take all of them. So I'll just say CA, accept all of them like that. So here it's added some type hints for me. So now my code is a lot more readable. That's great. How about this one? I don't actually want to return any predictions. So I'm going to highlight this. I'll type AE, print the predictions instead of returning them. Also print the features, do it in a pretty way. All right, so it's edited it in place and now it's doing some printing. That's pretty cool. Hey guys, just a quick interruption to talk about my Patreon. So I've just created a course on ML demand forecasting. And it's like a 6-hour course which has really comprehensive data science project. And I have the first hour of that course available on YouTube for free. So if you're interested in that, it's on demand forecasting. It's using Neovim, like similar type workflow, similar style as today's video, but it's really about implementing a demand forecasting model and creating a dashboard for that and an API for that. And so if that sounds interesting to you, you could check out the first hour. And if you want to continue, then you can buy the full course on Patreon. So thanks for watching through my interruption, and I'll let you get back to Avante and the video today. And what I want to do now is make all this code runnable. I want to add a main block so that it's going to actually like do all of this stuff when I run this file. So I'm going to make sure to save this so it's working with the proper file. and it looks like sometimes it gives me problems, like it's kind of, see what it's doing here. So you kind of got to fight with it sometimes. I'm going to exit out of Avante, and I want to be, okay, here's where I want to be. And let's open up Avante. There it is. Great. By the way, I have a whole history of all my stuff at this point. So if I hop back up here and keep scrolling up, it's like keeping like a log of my entire history of prompts. And so that's cool, because then I could sort of copy this stuff and keep track of it. So let's say I want to do that. I'm going to go to the bottom, or the top rather, and I'll highlight, and then I'm going to go to the bottom, and I'm going to yank all this stuff. So over here, I can do something like Avante chat.log. Bring that in, and I can paste it. So this is an entire history of all this log, because this stuff's not saved anywhere. So I might want to do that. Let's go back to the model, come back here, and what I could do now is clear this. So I've saved it to a log. I want to start fresh in here, so I'm just going to type this clear command, and it's going to clear my chat history. So add a main block that will create the model and then run the predictions when I run the file. Seeing a new make predictions function, which is kind of strange, and then it's creating this main block down here. So let's go ahead and apply this and see what it wants me to do. So it does indeed want me to remove my old make predictions function and replace it with this, but it's super strange, right? Like this is kind of bugging out a little bit. It's telling me to like let me show you. If I accept this, I'm going to say CA, and look what it's done. It's totally broken. Like it's throwing all of this make predictions logic inside of my main function, which I do not want to do that at all. So actually in this case, and this could be because I'm using this ChatGPT 4 Mini, like I'm using this cheapo model, but probably that's why it's happening. But what I could do is just go ahead and copy it and paste it in like this. And I'm happy to do that. The only thing is it's replacing this make predictions function. It's super weird though, because I didn't even need it to do that. So I can just delete that. All I was really asking for it was to do this. Let's see how it's working. So it's going to create this model. It returns a random forest classifier. Come on down. Then it's going to save that model to disk. So it's going to call this function, save it to disk. Then it's going to call the make predictions function, and that's going to load the model. And actually what I'd want to do is, if I was writing this, I'd want to take in this model into this function, right? So I wouldn't actually want to load it in here. I'd want to load it here. This would be like the workflow I'd expect to do, right? And then this would be inputting the model. So let me just make some changes to do that. All right, now let's give this a shot. And there's one last thing we need to try in order to get this running. And I need a requirements file. So let's get Avante to do that for me as well. You can see it started to give me that weird error. So let's, okay, here, open it up. I'm going to clear it so we're fresh again. Write me a requirements.txt file. So it's identified the packages I'm going to need, and it's given me them here. Now, of course, I don't want to edit this file again, because I want to create this myself. Open that up and paste these in. So these are my requirements I'll need. Pretty sure joblib comes with scikit-learn. So these are really the only two that I need. Right, so we've got this requirements. We've got our model file here, but what we don't have anywhere is a readme.md. Say readme.md. So the readme starts right here. So I'm going to just grab this code, come on down, and I will yank that, and I'm going to paste it in here for my readme file. So I've got that now. Looks good. Maybe yeah, delete that last part, and that's the readme file right there. So I can type space MP. I've got this markdown preview plugin, and this is the readme that it's just created for us. And it's even got some kind of information on the model right down here. And it's even telling me I have an MIT license. So there you go. Let's install this. So I want to clean everything up a little bit, and I'm going to keep my README open, and I'll open up a new pane down here. So the README is telling me to create, to install my requirements, and I want to do this with virtual environment. So actually, what if I use Avante for this too? So where it's this sort of part right here, where it's installing the required packages, let's do leader AE. And I'm going to say, on this guy, I'm going to say, use a virtual env. All right, so now with the installed requirements, it's sort of telling me to do that by activating my environment. That's pretty cool. I'm going to actually do that right here. And yep, and then I'll go ahead and activate it. That's cool. And I'll install my requirements this way. Now they're not in here. I got to go into this gym members classification. That's where I'll have my requirements. So let's install those. So now let's go ahead and run the model. So I can't really tell what it's doing. What I want to do is add a little bit of logging. So I'm going to interrupt that, and let's go back to our model, and I'm going to add this logging in here. So I'll just open up Avante, and I'm just going to say add logging. So it took a little while that time. Come up here, and again, I'll just type capital A, and I'm going to start looking through these. So let's actually go through it line by line. So CT, I'm going to take theirs here. That's good. I'll take theirs. So here I'm just adding all of these logging to my code, and I'm setting up my logger down here. Looks pretty nice. Let's try this again. So it's had some issues. Here's the logging that I've implemented. That's working fine, but we get an error when we're trying to fit our estimator right here. What it's saying is it can't convert a string type to float. Let's have a look at our data in order to understand that. So I'm going to hop back up, and we're going to go to our data, and we've got this one column here for gender, but it's a string like male, female, male. The model wants to see only float features. It's not happy that this is a string. It didn't expect that. So let's get Avante to fix that for us. So I'm going to type space AA to pull up the Avante menu. I'm going to say, okay, after loading the data, do one hot encoding on the column gender, right? And then I'm going to say also do this before making predictions, in addition to before model training. Okay, pretty bad prompt, but let's see if it works. So I can see it's doing it in two different places in the code. So let's hop up and accept these and check them out. I'll accept all of them. So the first place it did it is up here. After we load the data, it calls get dummies. And this is going to do the one hot encoding that we want. And notice how we're dropping first. This is a really cool option you can do with pandas in order to drop the variable sort of before you one hot encoded it. In any case, the point is this is going to work for us. That's going to get the data that we're looking for, I think. And let's see where else we're using this. Here it is. So this is, we're also doing it in make predictions, and we're going to be dropping it first. So we're doing the same thing down here but on our features. So I believe this will work for us. So I'm going to try training it again. And here is our result. So this is the result of the pretty printing that I asked for. I can't really tell what's going on that well with that. So let's see what it's doing there. I'm going to say iterate over the predictions and the features and pretty print the results line by line. Hopefully this looks a little bit better. All right, it's maybe a little bit more clear. So this is kind of cool. For all of these features, we're predicting yoga. For all of these features here, we're predicting a high intensity training. For all of these features here, we're predicting cardio. So it's built this thing for us. So let's just take you through everything. We got Avante to create this entire model for us. It creates a random forest model, and it saves that to the disk, and then it loads it, and then it makes predictions. And we've got it to build a requirements file for us, and we got it to build us an entire like README file for how this is going to work, including how to install it, and it even gave us an MIT license. So that's all I have for you today, but I'm going to keep hacking with Avante on this data set, and I want to see if I can get it to create me a Streamlit dashboard to visualize what this data is like, and if it can help me like deploy that dashboard as well. So I'm going to look into that in the next video, and I'll leave a link to that here if you want to check that out. But let me know what you thought about Avante and if you're using it for your development. And I would very much appreciate it if you could give me a like on this video if you've watched this far. That really helps me out and helps me grow here on YouTube. So thank you very much, and namaste.